G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some cool sailors. But of course, I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. First off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
2 weeks in a row.
I know.
Hey,
And the
my
first
shoulders are getting a little bit sorer carrying you blokes. Hey,
carrying it. You need to get your fitness back, mate. If you carried us
I'm
for
just
so long.
back in the gym just to get ready for it all. No, seriously, it's 2 weeks in a row. Excited. Let's get cracking.
All right, well, the special thing about this is finally it's all three of us. So let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Boyce.
Gentlemen,
Good.
apologies for not making it last week, but I did find your photo on Port Lincoln, Jordan.
Was it around Maccabi Diva's neck?
No, I was at the local constabulary. If this bloke comes within 20 Ks of this town, bloody shoot him.
Yeah. I think that's at my university, that one.
Is it the sideways profile as well?
Oh yeah, no, full proper mugshot.
Oh,
absolutely. But a bloody big mug, let me tell you.
Oh dear. Oh, hey, boys, COVID's back.
COVID's going nuts.
It's gone nuts.
Your wife has COVID, Jordan.
BP's wife has COVID.
My wife has
BP's
COVID.
wife had. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. They've been hanging out.
I'll have to hide this microphone.
Yeah.
Something going around.
Yeah, no, it's bad actually. I think it's fully vaxxed the whole thing and still wiped out. So I think there's a new, more virulent version going around. So just be careful. Well, there is in Australia, that's for sure. So
well, it's quite lucky. Sailing season's kind of just kicked off, and we're all sitting as close as we can to each other.
Yeah, and getting covered in moisture. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it is getting close for the Hobart for you too, Bicey. What have you done four in a row?
Could it be 3 years in a row?
Fair enough.
Sorry. No, it's going to happen this year for you, I'm sure.
Oh, look, we had such a good response to our Hobart coverage. I think you'd be sacrificing a lot to go and do the Hobart. That Hobart coverage is received. We got a lot of people want us to do that again. So
imagine that would turn up on the morning of the 26th, just with all the recording gear.
Yeah.
Got one of the media passes around my neck.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, boys, we got a good guest here, so I'm pretty keen to get him on the show. We keen to kick it off?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Okay.
So get into it.
Yeah. So talk about topical. Well, we're right on it with this one. Our special guest this week is, I don't know, can I say the word wonder kid? He's the, let's say that the year 22 is the year for this bloke. He has been a standout sailor right through his youth sailing, part of the USA sailing team, and he's only a young fella, and it's all kicked into gear this year. The man has won the A-Class World Championships and the F18 World Champs, all within a short space of time and without having to travel too far. So welcome to the show, Ravi Parent. How are you, mate?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Mate,
absolute pleasure.
How old are you, Ravi? I'm just going to start off with.
I'm 26.
Right. I'm just looking at your run sheet here. Mechanical and aerospace engineer, chuck in professional sailor into that. Basically, if you don't win, there's some questions being asked. So,
yeah, there's, sometimes there's a bit of pressure, but that's all part of the fun. And, I like to use what I learned in school on the water and try to bridge the gap, try to keep it all fun.
It's an impressive record. So we should just get it out there. So when I say 22 has been a good year, I mean, you've been going pretty good for a long time. You've been a standout, but last year you won the F18 Nationals in the US. This year you won the Euros, and then you went on and win the Worlds, and you win the A class. And you're doing the whole Olympic campaign for 24 and the NACRA 17. The thing that stood out to me was the A-Class Worlds were in Houston, and then the F18 Worlds are in Clearwater. So, and you're a Sarasota boy, is that right? So
Yeah, that's home base for sure. Yeah.
you didn't even really use a quarter of a tank to get to anything, did you?
In the US, it was only 3 tanks,
Yeah.
but it cost about 28 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're complaining about the gas prices here, but I know it's a lot higher elsewhere. But it's nice to, have what we think is a home field advantage. I mean, my philosophy this year has been if there's a Worlds in the U.S., I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to do it. I mean, it's the most convenient thing, so pretty happy to put it all together.
Yeah. So
Damn impressive.
damn impressive. Like it's not. I think only 2 other people have won the A's and the F18s in the same year. I think that's only ever happened. I think it was Mitch Booth is one, and I can't remember who the other was. But to do that, and we know the standard of that field is pretty strong. It must be pretty amazing just to sort of think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing year, and it's just, this past week, and I'm sure for weeks to come, I've just been reflecting on it and, thinking about, the work it takes to do that, but also the support I've had from, different people around me to help me do this has been really amazing. And it's just something that I'm really grateful for.
What impresses me is there's 2 different classes going from an F18 to an A class. I mean, how do you find going from boat to boat?
There is a fair bit of overlap. I mean, they're both high performance catamarans. They're actually both 18 feet long, and they're both trapezing, but obviously one of them's foiling and one of them's not. So there's, a bit of a different mentality you have when you switch between the 2 boats. The foiling boat, your parent wind's a lot higher, parent wind speed, you're foiling upwind and downwind. So you kind of have to think about the sail trim and the body weight and sail shape a bit differently. And, then with the 18, you kind of slow everything down, and you kind of have to treat the waves quite a bit differently with all the pitching. So it's just, it's sort of there's an overlap, but you have to do the mental switch between the 2 for sure.
And you've got someone to yell at in the 18.
That too, but it's nice when, they can help take the load off a little bit. It's pretty helpful.
I've got this.
Were you always crossing over, or what came first, A class or F18?
Well, I guess if we back up to the first regatta you mentioned, which was the U.S. Nationals, that year in 2021, we actually called it the Americas because it's every couple of years we have a North and South American championship. Right. And so, around that time, I'd really been focusing on the ACAT, but this opportunity came. It was out in Long Beach, California, and I was living out there, and it was really, again, in home waters. So I basically every time one of these big events has come up, I've done a switch. So that was the first switch. I focused on the F18 back then. And then that was back in September 2021. And after that, I switched back to the ACAT, head down, focused on that through the Worlds. And then honestly, the F18 sailing again this summer was a little bit of a surprise again. So with the opportunity that came up there, and did a bit of switch back to that during the summer.
It's
Were you always into the foiling side of things? We'll go into your actual career off the water, but was foiling always something for you?
It's always been interesting. I mean, I think the first time I really thought about foiling was sort of during college. The America's Cup had gone to foiling catamarans a time before that, and we're starting to look at the Cup going to Bermuda with the foiling cat sailor as well. And I've been a cat sailor for a lot of my sailing career, so I really had a passion for catamarans. But seeing it go foiling, at the top end of the sport, really inspired me to kind of get involved with that, and kind of launched me into the Olympic class campaign afterwards in the NACRA 17. And traditionally just a generic cat sailor with the F18s and that before, but now foiling's pretty much all I'm interested in.
One of the things we do on this show, Ravi, is that my 2 idiot mates go and sit around and drink beers, and before each show I do a ton of research just to make sure that we have
It's a
knowledge.
great relationship, right?
Yeah.
Don't let that lead you on a different path here, though. You're on a good trajectory. Do not let us change that in any way.
Anyway, one of the things that has come across with the research I've done is that I would guess that you're very analytical in your approach.
That's pretty spot on. I mean, coming from sort of an engineering fiddly background, even before college, I was always kind of working on things and fiddling in the garage, whether it's like a skateboard, trying to do something like that, or boats, of course, take over. I mean, I'm always trying to make the boat faster and fiddle with stuff.
Yeah. It came across, when we go through everything that you've done. So why don't we go to the start and then just sort of set the parameters? Because one of the things that we talk about all the time on this show is pathways. So this conversation we do every time just to make sure that our listeners and, in fact, I can say that the team that came second to you at the F18 Worlds, one of them has written to us and said that, we've heavily influenced his pathway because of all this discussion. So you can thank us for giving you some of the pressure that you got there at that World Championships.
That's what he was thinking, right?
Yeah.
Baccaradians. God damn 'em.
Anyway, it was a nice email. That's why I brought it up. I'll talk about it later on. Anyway, parents introduced you to the sport. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't come from, a heavy sailing family. I mean, my dad had done a little bit growing up, but really it wasn't a big part of his life until he was a bit older. And then he started to learn more sailing and more racing kind of when I was born.
Right.
And then, when they moved, I was born in Connecticut, actually, New England, United States. And then they moved down to Florida and, my dad started to build his own sailing, recreational racing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they threw me in a summer camp and, kind of like a lot of stories, it kind of grew from there.
Good old American summer camps, eh?
Hey, yeah. It's good, isn't it?
So talk to us about the summer camp. And we are blown away with the way things are done differently to what we go through here in Oz. But say throw you into summer, is it like the movies? Literally, the parents drop you off, kick you out,
In the yellow school
and you're
bus.
gone. You're gone for out of the Woody car. You're gone for 6 weeks or so. You're sailing every day. How's that work?
It's sort of like that. Yeah. I mean, it's more of like I don't want to call it like this, but it's more of like a daycare a little bit, but,
I was going to say it's a holiday for the folks.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nice for them to, let the kids go have fun, but, that sort of starts, early morning, 8 or 9 a.m. The parents drop me off, kind of summer camps, the sailing summer camps that I was part of. It was a lot of learning to sail, but it was also a lot of learning to be independent and enjoy the water. And that's sort of been their goals is, as much as you try to push out sailors, lifelong sailors, you're also just trying to help kids, learn to handle themselves and, take confidence in what they're doing.
Well,
what age are you doing this?
7 and 8 is usually. I think I started at 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we should give Ravi some context of what it's like in Australia, just so you know. No summer camp, none of that. Mum just yells at you, get out of the house and leave us alone. And what you do when you're about 7 or 8 is you go and get a card and then you get a peg and you put it on the back of your bike so you've got a card going click, click, click through your spokes on your bike wheel. Then you ride down to the river and you get the tenders that are sitting on the side of the water, get one of the oars and then take a sheet down with you and you make your own sailing boat until you wash up on the other side of the river and paddle it back. And that's summer camp for us. And Mum just...
Yeah. Ravi, just stop there. I'll just tell you what it's really like, okay? This is like back in the old days Jordan's talking about.
Anyway.
These days, you wouldn't be doing that because every bloody kid has to have the best mountain bike in town.
Yeah, that's true.
Making jumps everywhere. But there is a lot of kind of school holiday stuff these days where learn to sail generally, and we use Opties for that from a youth point of view. Well, it changes a little bit around the country. So that's we're kind of getting a bit more of the mentality that you guys had. What boats actually did you guys sail?
Well, for the very beginning, we called it the Pram. It's basically an Opti, but it doesn't have airbags. It has like the solid bumpers inside, tanks and auto bailers and that kind of stuff, for the kids. But yeah, generally it was Optis. Yeah.
And then
bit of a common theme.
Yeah,
yep.
That was a nice segue, Bryce. You saved my stupid story really well there by doing that. That was beautifully done. And then, so obviously you were down in Florida at this stage, so Sarasota. It looks I've never been to that part of Florida. You know, Bossy and I are more South Beach guys.
We'll save that for the X-rated episode.
Anyway, we've been stuck on that bloody road a few times. But yeah, you know, it looks like a really fantastic place to sail. So even as a young kid, it's in the ocean, but it looks like, you know, we're talking the west coast of Florida, and it looks like really flat seas, nice clean water, warm. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to grow up. I mean, it's another one of those things I've been reflecting on this past week is, I mean, really lucky to have, you know, grown up somewhere that I can sail year round, you know, even in the summer when the wind's light and we get these kind of thunderstorm cycle, you know, sort of in the summer, we basically have very light wind in the morning, a light sea breeze, you know, 3 to 5 knots, maybe 8 knots around 2 or 3 p.m. And then around 4 or 5 p.m. we get the thunderstorms just kind of roll out and sort of that cycle. But, you know, year round, you know, we can sail, you know, it's very nice weather all the time. We're down to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit this week. So we call that a cold front, but that's, you know, compared to other places, it's quite warm and it's a, you know, pretty good place to sail. We have different hot spots around Florida too. I mean, we have Clearwater, which is a little bit north, about an hour north of where I grew up. We have Sarasota. We have, you know, a lot of youth circuits south on the West Coast. We have Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I mean, there's all the different hubs. So you can really do a lot of different sailing kind of in a couple hours drive.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look at the map now. Yeah. Ravi, so did you do a lot of racing inside the Sarasota Bay? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much whenever I'm at home, you know, staying with my parents or something like that. That's basically my training hub. That's where a huge part of my A-class training took place, especially in 2020 and in early 2021. We did a lot of training there. And it's a nice, you know, it's about 5 miles long, north to south. So it's, you know, have a good stretch. And typically the wind blows from the north or the south. Some, you know, sea breeze is a bit more of a westerly. So it's a pretty ideal spot, you know, especially for the foiling boats. You get flat water. You do get a bit of weed in the water, a little bit of seagrass, but other than that, it's pretty nice.
So got a super impressive resume, and I touch on that. It's impressive to read. But one thing I thought I'd just give you a bit of a search, and the first picture that comes up is an almighty wipeout. Did you get confused and sort of cross that with the aerospace engineering research because you were damn high?
Yeah. I think we were just trying to set a new record. We needed something to make us stand out from our teammates in the U.S. team. You know, we just had to do something special.
Got to thank you for it.
It's always funny to me when people see that and then they associate, hey, that's me. And I don't know if I should be proud or a little bit embarrassed.
No, but, you should be very, very proud.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's very cool. When did you become serious about the sport? Like, when did you become competitive? Was it always in your mind, or did you know, when was what clicked in your head?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, growing up, like in the youth sailing, a lot of kids do, you know, the opti racing, the red, white, and blue racing, the green fleet, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd call that relatively serious, but I think I took the real step into pursuing sailing as my primary sport sort of in high school, you know, around 15, 16 years old.
Right.
That's when I really started to buckle down and say, all right, this is really the sport I love. This is really what I want to be focusing on for the rest of my career. What
was the first sort of, I guess, opportunity that rose? Obviously, you know, anyone could say, yeah, I'm going to take this on professionally, or I'm going to go down that path. What was the first sort of result, if you like, that really put you in amongst the field? Yeah,
I think the first thing that really had me working towards something big was the Youth Multi-Hull Championship back in 2011.
Yeah.
That was actually when I first got into catamaran. So I started sailing multi-hulls. I was 14 at the time, I think. And, you know, sort of the beginning of 2014. And we had some very, very kind club members at our sailing club down in Sarasota that had F18s and really wanted to get more young people involved. And they let us sail their boats. And we had a nice core group of 6 sailors. And we were all just kind of a bunch of friends having fun, going on the water, sailing these really cool boats. And you know, with that end goal in mind of that's where we want to go race.
So 2011 was when you gave up on life.
No, that's when I took the right path.
was going to say,
I thought he was going to say it, Ravi, and it's not far before he does give us the cat whacker terminology when he breaks it out. No, of course. I thought you were going to say it was December 28, 2019 when you started using the best self-planner I'm looking at on your website.
Yeah, that's sort of it's been a tool to kind of help me structure how I think about organizing goals and stuff like that. I actually haven't used it very much since I started Olympic campaigning. I started using it around 2018, 2019 as sort of like a weekly planner, trying to break up these chunks into addressing the bigger picture goal. But it's sort of become a habit by now, and I actually haven't really used it in a while.
Mate, you are a dead set legend from day one, though, weren't you? Like when you look at your results, you were right there the whole time. So I'll just give some early stuff. Whilst you're still a youth, you're doing the F16s, which is slightly shorter version of the F18. Won the nationals a couple of times, came second at the Worlds, and also doing the Youth Worlds. All that. So that is pretty impressive to be that switched on from that younger age. Are you worried about peaking too early?
Definitely not. I hope that it's only up from here. I mean, I'd say that this is a good start, but I have a lot of sailing to do, and hopefully a lot of life left to do it. It's
impressive though. Like, the other thing I guess I've got to ask, and I think it's probably a good question for you, is we're talking about a lot of different boats that are not cheap. How do you afford the boats, mate? You're a trust fund baby or what?
Not quite. I mean, I'm very fortunate to come from a family that has really supported me with my sailing throughout this whole time. I mean, in the very beginning with the catamaran sailing, we were always using borrowed boats. We were, like I said, we had a couple club members who just basically let us sail their boats. And I mean, looking back on that now, you don't find a lot of people who really, let some 14, 15-year-old kid take out their, $20,000 catamaran, something like that. So it's, really, really grateful for that. Growing up, I came from a family that's very supportive and, but also very, very firm, you talk about my attention to detail and kind of work ethic. Like I kind of came from parents and family that, their 80% wasn't good enough. So if you're going to do something, you got to go all the way and put all into it. Yeah, and I think I've really taken that to heart.
I think that's a huge point, Ravi, is that, you're not only got to, get the tools, but it is about the mental attention as well. You touched on a second ago. So it's another point that we could, raise up about how important it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you could have all the resources in the world, but if you don't know how to use it correctly, then, what are you even doing? You got to have a passion for it. You got to, you need to have a plan. You need to know kind of what you're working for and sort of the small steps to take and just have a good perspective the whole time.
Yeah, I think you make a really great point about people lending the gear. One of the reasons, I love the sport is it's so challenging. You never quite master it, but I mean, you seem to be mastering it pretty well. But the generosity that exists right through our sport is quite unique, I think. Maybe not, but it's evident in our sport, really easy. And something like that is, I think Caleb was the same. He was talking about with his fins, how people bought fins for him, like it's a pretty amazing sort of thing, and probably worth just mentioning it more because, if those people hadn't done that, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about these results, I suspect.
Absolutely. And I mean, those people had sailors before them doing the same for them. It really just needs to be a culture in our sport where, we're always trying to help the next generation. I mean, I've tried to do it in the sense that every time I've come home with an Actor 17 per se, I've always rigged it up, brought it to the club and just gone sailing with, the next generation of sailors that we have here in Sarasota, just to have fun, even if I'm, between training blocks or something like that. I mean, I think it's just fun to get them out there because I want them to be sailing when I'm near the end of my career. I want them to be following up and pushing me and beating me on the race course.
Good point. On you.
What I'm interested in, Ravi, is your career off the water, which I spoke about before in the engineering field. and you've done quite a lot of projects, and that's crossed over into the marine world. Just want to talk to us about that a little bit and how that happened and whether it was always on the radar.
Yeah, the pathway that many Americans take is you have to go to university. You sort of have to get a degree is generally what many people are taught from growing up, and that's honestly not always the case, as we all know. But I took that path, and I went to Boston University. I graduated in 2018.
How was the cold?
It was very different. Let's just say I haven't spent much time in snow since I graduated. I'm more of a tropical person.
Yeah, keep going.
But it was good to have a change of pace for a little while. And I came from a science background family, so engineering was sort of thing on my mind. Originally, I was thinking about meteorology, but I wasn't so sure I wanted to. It's funny, I'll say this now. I wasn't so sure I wanted to sit behind a computer screen and look at models, but ironically now I sit behind a computer screen
looking at
and
models.
do design. Yeah. So maybe it would have been a nice pathway, but nonetheless, yeah, I went to school for engineering, did an aerospace concentration, and basically trying to bridge the gap between a regular working career to a sailing career.
Well, it's a complimentary.
Yeah, I was super complimentary, and having a look on your web. By the way, everyone check it out. Ravi's website. Just Google it. But there's a lot, and there's quite a few crossover projects as well, which I'm guessing you've kind of just as one from a career point of view, but also to try and just tinker and make things a little bit better that you've worked on yourself.
Yeah, I haven't actually updated that website in a little while. It's a bit due for an overhaul and some updated information. But if I remember correctly, some of the projects I've listed there are, working on a 1 meter sailboat, I think is one of the ones I have in there. That's actually something I did during a summer internship during college. I worked at TPI Composites. They used to build a lot of the J boats in Rhode Island, but now they're mostly focusing on the windmill blades and the bus bodies and stuff like that. But that was sort of my first real dive into composites and that sort of engineering, a bit of experience there. And then but that was just a fun project. I'd pretty much do it after work hours and use whatever scrap material I could find in the bin over there just to practice infusion and making things. And then one of the other projects I did was, regripping one of our F-16s. And I mean, it sounds like a very basic project, but as a teenager doing that project, I'm sanding the boats and, pulling all the grip off and regripping everything. That was really my first step into kind of getting hands-on and doing all this boat work myself. And, these are things that they built my confidence, but they were fun. I was just doing them because I was interested in them. And I think that's the best kind of work that I've really been involved in, is the stuff that I enjoy and have the interest in. And that's really what kind of motivates me.
Are you running like CFD models like of your boats and with all the resources that you have access to?
We know you are.
I haven't quite gotten into CFD. I think that's next on the list, but I've been doing a lot of FEA analysis lately and just kind of understanding structures and load distributions and stuff. That's sort of been my specialty so far, but I'd like to get into CFD.
I was just going back.
Yep.
I'm just thinking, you go to TPI Composites to do an internship, thinking, about, the history of the company and what they've done. And then you turn up and there's a bloody big windmill blade.
It's impressive.
Oh, damn, I've got to bloody work on that windmill blade.
Yeah. I remember when I started there, I was actually working in the materials testing lab, and it was split between two parts in the facility. They had the downstairs part, which had air conditioning, and then the upstairs portion, which when I first started there did not. So I was wearing, my full pants, work shoes, polo shirts or whatever, and sweating, working on these test panels until they finally got air conditioning. But it was a bit of an eye-opening, experience when I went there. You're in Rhode Island, you're in one of the sailing meccas for all of North America. But then you go up the street and, a company that used to work on boats is now working on other projects, and just kind of learning about it.
I guess, has that given you, I know I kind of asked it before, the engineering background, but now understanding loads and all those sorts of things, has that changed the way you sail the boat or made you a little more cautious?
If anything, it makes me push it harder.
Yeah, sure.
I have a better understanding of safety factors and loads and what the boat's actually experiencing, then I'm like, all right, I can have more confidence that I can actually, use this thin a line or use, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm using tighter, rig tension or, pushing this material or something like that. Or, this is why I should use a wire forestay on the ACAT instead of a soft, synthetic rigging.
So your wipeout was a test then?
Yeah.
Sorry to keep going back there, but I love
it. One of the things, it's interesting listening to this discussion. I wonder if the internship at TPI sparked the interest in the structural side, or your study sparked that structural interest and you took that internship for that reason?
I think it was more the latter. During college, I actually also wanted to do a material science minor. When I went into college, I'm like, I want to get a degree that works for sailing. What is sailing? Sailing is aerospace stuff, but it's also the boats and the composites and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to get a formal education and understanding all of that. Unfortunately, it ended up being a lot of classes, and I wasn't quite ready to take all that on. And when I took my first material science classes, it turned into a lot of chemistry, which was pretty much my worst class in college.
Yeah.
And so I sort of switched over to the aerodynamics and the fluid stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. I do a little.
Jordan did a lot of fluid stuff in his college career as well.
Yeah.
Investigative science.
It's interesting because I did a little bit of coaching for a while, and I had a lot of kids in the 15 to 18 space.
Fluids,
and they would often talk to me about university, what they should do, and wanting to do it as a professional career. And I remember once I went and looked at all the heads of the major sailing businesses around the world, and they were all engineers by qualification. And so, that's a conversation I had with a lot of those kids, that if you want that full-time career in the sport and to rise to the top, you need that engineering degree. So I think that, you're pretty much spot on.
Yeah, I think an engineering degree or, one of those degrees like that is very much like, yes, it trains you in the technical things, but it also trains you in how you learn, how you think, and kind of how you behave. It's a lot like just high level sports in general.
Yeah.
Boston University, for example, is a heavy hockey school, so we were always around, the really high performing, high profile hockey kids. I remember my freshman year, the number 2 draft pick was in my class. I'd ride next to him on the bus, and then the next year he's making $10 million as a starting salary.
Right.
That sort of
they call them jocks. Mentality. They call them jocks, right?
Yeah, exactly. Jocks. Yeah, exactly.
Just American movies,
Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah, I think that, just that sort of the stuff you learn in university with, an engineering degree or just high level sports really, kind of shapes the way you think later on. And it's really helpful.
Yeah, it's a good point.
One of the things that we've been fortunate over our careers is to be able to work with a lot of these sort of manufacturing firms where we see stuff come out. We're able to see a lot of the latest cutting edge stuff. So the stuff that engineers are designing and then they're getting manufactured. And we know in all those facilities they have what's called the test rig, where you break things, you make something and then you push it till it destroys itself. And we've created, I'm not sure how many of our episodes you listen to, but we always ask on which boat, the person that breaks the most gear, we call that person test rig now. So, who's the test rig in your life?
Oh boy, that's a great question.
You're allowed to say you.
Probably me, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that by the time I get to a regatta, I've got it mostly sorted out. I've been lucky to not really have any breakdowns in these major events this year. But yeah, definitely in training, I've lost several days or several whatevers to just fixing things. It's always a learning experience for sure. But hopefully I'm getting better.
Yeah.
So I'll say on your career path, Morelli and Melvin.
Yeah.
Has been a part of that. How was that? Are you with them now, or that was more a work, some other work experience stuff?
Yeah, so I'm still currently a part-time design engineer for Morelli and Melvin. I started back in 2020, just after COVID started. But that all sort of started back when I graduated college. So a bit of background on how that relationship grew. So I grew up in Florida, and I went to Boston University. I did the whole college sailing thing there, and then after college, I went to do an Olympic campaign in the multi-hull class. And Pete Melvin, as you might know, also grew up in Florida and went to Boston University, did the college sailing, and then went on to campaign in multi-hulls. So sort of following the same pathway, it sort of became a natural connection that we'd meet, and this sort of relationship would grow.
Do you call him Uncle Pete? I'm following in your footsteps.
Maybe I should.
Oh, I just want to be a fly on the wall.
What project? I mean,
Yeah,
Morelli
cool
and Melvin have, they got some fantastic projects out there, and just always at the forefront of specifically multi-hull sailing. What cool projects have you worked on there?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's been interesting to me. I've really worked mostly on power cat foils, so powerboat catamarans, and just either retrofitting foils to existing ones or putting foils on a new Morelli Melvin design that's coming out. So honestly, not a lot of sailboats. I've done a little bit on the Rapido 40 trimaran that recently came out with the rudder system, but for the most part, it's just been foils on powerboats.
It's interesting though. Like I was going to actually, because I was going to ask about foils next, because you're doing the NACRA 17, you did the A class. Obviously, I think you did the Youth America's Cup. We've got the Sail GP. Everything's on foils now. I'm interested. Has that developed your knowledge? You think, or has that benefited you that work with the foils?
I think it's helped quite a bit. Coming into working with Morelli Melvin, I didn't necessarily have the most education coming in. I mean, many of my coworkers have, their masters and the PhDs and those really high level degrees. And I think one of the things that I brought in was just sort of this practical experience with foils and just trying things with sanding and with shaping and with angles and all this kind of stuff with settings. Like, I think that's given me a nice, big picture kind of understanding of what I think might be happening. And then now while I'm working, I'm learning a lot about actually, the physics and the calculations and the reasons why, why the foils are designed a certain way, or why they're, why I'm experiencing this thing in this situation.
Kind of like light bulb moments.
Exactly. all the dots are coming together. Yeah.
Or that'd be cool. That'd be cool coming from the other way, wouldn't it? Actually experiencing it on the water and then drawing it and going,
like having big crashes, BP.
Yeah.
I was going to, and sorry to kind of change the subject a little bit, but you mentioned the NACRA 17, and we've mentioned it a few times. Are they as bad as everyone has talked about?
I think you have to put it all in perspective, right? Like, at this point, the sails and the foils and everything, they're designed back in, 2015, 2016, the foil package. So yeah, obviously it's several year old design now. So if we could, redo everything, we'd probably have a different foil, different sails and stuff like that. But, in the big picture of an Olympic class, I think you now have a boat that can foil around the whole race course, as you saw in the last World Championship. And, a lot of the equipment failures have really been solved. The dagger boards are now all staying together and the masts are pretty robust. And, on the horizon, we do have a sail change coming, down the road. But, I think it's a really fun boat. I think it's really cool to have this big, 17-foot catamaran that foils around a race course. I think that's trapezing. I think it's a unique challenge that, you don't see many other places.
I have to ask.
Yeah, for the controversial one.
Yeah. Go on.
In the boat park, do you keep a specific eye on any particular nations to make sure that they're not adjusting their angle of attack of their foils?
Well, I think there's no secret that there's a bit of dominance in the class right now. Obviously, the Italians are pretty good. We're always trying to learn from them and keep an eye on them, what they're doing. We haven't quite cracked the code yet, but hopefully we can catch up in time for the big regattas.
It's a bit
have you got any sort of ideas? Have you got any sort of suspicions?
Well, I've got to give them credit where it's due. I think they're just really good. I mean, they have a really good training culture. They have several teams that have been working together for a long time. They're all multi-quad teams that have been sailing for a long time, and they've been really good at understanding what to focus on in their training. They realized pretty early on that this is going to be an upwind foiling boat, so they really put their heads down and worked on that. And I think while many people might have been focusing on preparing for the Tokyo Olympics, I think that they were already one step ahead and kind of understanding the next step of what's to come. And you saw a little bit of that in the racing in Japan with them kind of semi-foiling upwind in the racing there, but they're already a year ahead there, so we just got to catch up.
So we're talking about Tita and Banti. The whole Italian team at the last Worlds was pretty strong, but finishing first and second, I think, from memory. But Tita and Banti just dominated, didn't they? Their scorecard was pretty much all picket fence.
Yeah, that's what I aspire to do in these other classes that I've been sailing, and maybe hopefully one day in the NACRA 17 is just be as dominant as them is sort of anyone's goal. Yeah,
I think what I kind of took away from that, Ravi, time on the water is pretty key, right? So just to make it part of your craft, but concentrating in the right areas to make sure you're going in the right direction is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's time on the water, but it's quality time on the water. It's important focus time. I mean, we have this sort of, joke sometimes domestically, we're always thinking about how many days we're putting on the water in Olympic campaigning, whether it's 150, 180, 200 days. And, we have the 470s who will go out there and do these 4 or 5 hour sessions. And, for them, it's really productive. I get that, and they're doing 200 plus days a year. And, they're always coming back to us like, why aren't you guys sailing more? All I always see is you guys are working on your boats. You're always just fixing things or tuning things. And, for us, a 2 or 3 hour session is kind of a lot. It's a lot of energy expended, and we have to sit there and refine our boats and figure it out. And, the boat work sailing ratio is pretty good still, but it's still, you have to put your hours in fixing things and tuning things to actually get the most out of every session.
I have to jump in here. Obviously, we're talking about, you've got a campaign for the 24 Olympics for the US team in the NACRA 17. We have a theory about success in the US Olympic team. And I'm just wondering, what's that on your top lip there, mate? Is that a little moustache you're starting to grow?
Well, that's only 1 week. If you look at the pictures from the F18 Worlds, I followed the tradition of just staying focused and no shaving during that one on the face. So,
well,
as an outside country looking in, we think you have to have a moustache to make it in the US sailing team.
The Paul Kayard approach.
I might have to. Yeah, I've got a little catching up to do, but hopefully I can get there.
Look, we know you're a smart lad. You've got Uncle Pete in your back pocket now because you followed his pathway. The moustache locks Uncle Paul in, and we just have to find a massive funder for you for your whole campaign and find an idiosyncrasy that we can copy there for that as well. So, you're nearly there. You're a clever man.
Well, thanks. If you guys have any ideas, I'm all ears. It's always trying to find the way to pay the bills and just go sailing. Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, people will hear this show, that's for sure. One of the questions I have to ask, just what different, so at the A classes and the F18s, because they're not one design fleets, you can pick and choose your boat and your sails. What did you choose and why? Yeah,
so with the A class, it is an open class, but in recent years the platform has sort of become one design. We have the Exploder 83, and they came out with a new, their latest version of the platform in 2020. Yeah. And so that was sort of it was actually a pretty big step above their previous platforms in aerodynamics and everything, and the control systems and boat stiffness and build quality. So the platform itself has sort of become one design in recent years. I don't think DNA is really making platforms anymore. Unless they get a big order in. But, we did have choices in, the rudders, the dagger boards, the mast, and the sail. The rudders, we had, high modulus, very stiff rudders versus regular bendy rudders and all sorts of, different elevators. I went with a slightly smaller rudder horizontal elevator for the Worlds. There was a bigger one that came out just before, and I was contemplating trying to use that. But I thought, in all my training before Houston, the average wind was 12 to 15 knots for the sea breeze, up to 18 knots most days. I was like, these smaller rudders are going to be good enough. There were a couple of different main foils. They call them like Z42, Z45, all these different kind of numbers for them. Those are all just different versions. I think that D3 and Explorer have tried. And I was just using the Z45s, which was the newest one they had, really just because that's what came with my boat.
Yep.
And they were good enough. And then with the masts and sails, the masts also have recently been from one manufacturer, from Fiberfoam. Most of the foilers have gone with the tapered mast, and I use the 6.3 meter Hound tapered mast, so it's a little bit lower than 6.5, just for a little bit more depowering. I'm not a very big person. I think at the ACAT Worlds I was 73 kilos, and I'm 5'6", so whatever that is in centimeters. But
yeah,
and then of course our own sail.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the size thing, whether that that goes into your consideration as well. So.
Yeah, I'm not the tallest person, that's for sure. So I think throughout my sailing career, it's lended me a little bit more success in double-handed boats, but
right.
I don't think that it's a big deal in the A class. And I really think that's the case because, you have this rudder differential. We had 8 degrees of rudder differential at the Worlds, 7.5 or so. And that's a lot of riding moment you can produce. So, I was basically using rudder differential a lot lower in the wind range than other people.
Yep.
And in order for me to make that work really well, I had to sail a lot faster, whenever I could, just to keep the downforce coming.
Do you want to explain rudder differential? Because I'm sure some people don't know what that is in our listening base. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So on catamarans, you have 2 rudders, obviously, and we have an adjustable rudder system, so we can change the angle of attack. So basically, there's a slide at the top of the rudder that moves forwards and backwards and swings the top forwards and back, but then also the bottom. So it's just rotating the rudder. And differential is basically a system that allows you to move each rudder, to a different angle, to opposite angles. And that allows you to be lifting positively on the leeward rudder and then to be sucking down negative on the windward rudder, which is basically, in effect, making you feel heavier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
Hey, Ravi, you're lucky you didn't grow up in Australia, mate, because a bloke called Victor Kavalenko would have seen you walking through an airport and just grabbed you and say, you're the perfect 470 helm.
Yeah.
Just drop 10 kilos and you'll be perfect for me. And put you in his kind of gold medal vault type thing. So, but they don't go as fast as you guys. I'm interested from a fitness point of view. How's that fitness regime look, not only in the boats you're sailing now, but for your Olympic campaign?
Yeah, I was big into weightlifting, the powerlifting, all that kind of strength training in college. I was really, really into it. I was sort of in the gym 5-6 days a week, even though I was doing the college sailing 5 or 6 days a week as well. And then when I started doing the Olympic class sailing, it was a little bit harder to be more regular with that. Kind of had to, I didn't have the college gym, the college meal plan anymore, sort of, living in these different countries, traveling all the time, trying to speak different languages and talk to people. And so as years have kind of gone on, honestly, I've been doing a lot less physical training in the gym and a lot more either on a bike or just in pure sailing. And especially when COVID started, I wanted to try something different. I had still been trying to drag along a gym program through all my sailing up till COVID, but when the gyms all shut down and everything, I was like, I'm just going to go sailing 5, 6, 7 days a week and just see what happens. Do I keep my strength? Do I get stronger? Or what happens basically? And it actually turned into a really good experiment. The more sailing I did, I noticed that my sailing strength actually got better. My sheet pulling, my endurance, all that kind of stuff. My gym lifts went down, but overall my endurance went up. And I think the best way to get better at sailing is to just go sailing.
Go sailing.
Yeah.
How long are you going to obviously the Olympics is your goal. Lifetime career in the sport is your goal. From a professional perspective, what other goals do you have?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty open. I think that, I see what CLGP is doing. I see what the America's Cup's doing, and that's all really inspiring. I think that I'm really, really interested in CLGP, seeing how it's in these really, really cool catamarans with the wing sails. And rudder differential and all these things that I'm doing in the small scale here in the A class and now in the NACRA 17. And of course, the America's Cup's just always been, inspiring to me with the foiling and with just the pushing the level of all the technology and everything that it takes to perform there. And I think that if I could really kind of break into that sometime in the future, I'm in no big rush because I'm really enjoying all the sailing I'm doing right now, and I've got to really, improve on my own. But if those opportunities came forwards, I definitely take them.
So that missed call you had the other day could have been Jimmy. Just saying.
I was just going to say. Yeah.
Just
You
saying.
never know.
I mean, you look at the rap sheet here. It's lining up pretty nicely for the next move.
I'd like to think that hopefully I'm a good candidate and hopefully I'm on their radar. And I'd love to. Yeah, give me a call. I'm around. I'm free.
At the ripe old age of 26.
Yeah, we have to ask the question: how do you get on with gingers?
I think I get along with everyone pretty well. I hope, but you never know until you try.
Well, the important question then: are you willing to dye your hair red?
I don't know. I'd have to think of that one pretty carefully.
Mate, if that would mean the mo would have to be red as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, well, I mean it's obvious, but I'm interested because you brought it up. So SailGP obviously it's a perfect platform for your experience, no question about it. And I'm sure they'll call. You'll have a chance to prove your wares. But I'm interested how you view the America's Cup class because in reality, with a lot of these boats, the platform becomes irrelevant. It's how you sail on the foil now, and it's a double foil boat. So same as the SailGP boat. So same as the boats you sail. Whereas I'm just interested. Do you look at those America's Cup class boats and think, I could fit right into that program as well?
Yeah, it's been real interesting seeing how the Cup's been developing, and also thinking about my own sailing. So, like I said earlier, I'm not the biggest person. I'm probably not well suited to be a grinder or anything sort of that sort. So, I think that if, eventually if I get into that kind of sailing, I'd have to be more towards, a trimmer or a foil person or, in the dream world, helmsman or driver. I still do think that the Cup's gone away that I'm still interested in. It's still very technical, and that goes back to my engineering and my kind of desire to really tweak and improve boats. In my mind, in my short history of, watching the America's Cup, I know it has a really long history. You go to the New York Yacht Club and you in the model room and you can see all the, the great history that the Cup's had over the years. But in the time that I've seen the Cup, it's really, I started watching the America's Cup in the last, last event that they had the monohulls, and then I saw the the Cup with the big trimaran and the catamaran, and then it's gone into more foiling since then. And to me, it's just gotten more and more impressive. You've got these, when these monohulls came out originally, everyone really didn't believe in them. Everyone thought that, this thing isn't going to be able to tack, it's not going to be able to jibe, like, is it going to be able to foil at all? And I think now, if you really look at it, a lot of people are pretty impressed with how this design's gone. And yeah, all right, maybe it's not always the most interesting racing, but to me, that's not always what the America's Cup's about. It's also about the design and the innovation. And I think that they're also trying to address this new market that there is to try to push sailing to the masses and make it interesting to everyone. I mean, you can see how SailGP's has been doing that to bring the excitement factor up, to sort of draw more people into sailing. So I think it's an interesting challenge. I haven't put a lot of thought into how I would, reinvent it and do it myself. But, and I know it's something that you're going to get love and hate from both sides.
I'll tell you a secret, mate. You are one of the things that is definitely coming through with all this with these teams is the lighter we can get our crew with foiling boats, or the smaller we can get the crew, the better. Because they've got maximum weight limits, but they're also trying to bring size down. So you're well placed, is all I'll say.
Jordan knows that because he went through the process all the way to the last phase. And the last phase was, how big are you? And it's
like your head doesn't even meet the criteria, pal.
We don't have help.
You're out of here.
Yeah.
How about I know we're getting pretty close here, but how about the mockers? Have you been keeping an eye on those and what they're doing and developing? And
Yeah, I've been keeping a loose eye on it. especially with the foils, their designs is something that we've actually been thinking about a little bit in Marley and Melvin. We think about a lot of the traditional J foils and Z foils, and now the America's Cup foils, but you don't always think about these outward-facing foils that these boats have. And we started to think about applications where it might work in the Marley and Melvin designs, whether it's the sailboats or maybe the power boats. But in terms of the racing, it is very interesting. I do like sleeping in a nice bed every night. And
I was going to ask you, how's your offshore? Have you done any offshore?
I haven't really done any offshore racing. I'm considering doing the Royal 1000 sometime in the near future, but it's still an F18 catamaran, so it's still a small boat. But
still in Florida, so you're safe.
Did you follow? Exactly. Did you follow the last one? Did you follow the last race?
Yeah, I did. It was impressive. There were many days that I was like, I'm really glad I'm sleeping in a nice bed, because these guys
I'm not doing that.
Dark and boats are breaking, but I think that's something that I'll never know if I like it until I try it. So I think I need to give it its fair shot.
There you go.
Well, you'd have to take on. I assume you know Jason Lisa pretty well from the Nugget, so you'd have to take on Jason's dad, because he's the man.
Absolutely, another legend. Yeah, and I think his boat was sailing at the Worlds. It was chartered out to an Argentinian team.
Okay.
So yeah.
What's the Bossy's right? We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I want to get one last question of mine in, which is, what do you think is the next big thing that we're going to see with, whether it's in rigs or foils or the next development? Because you're an engineer, you're starting to see some of this. What do you reckon will be the big breakthrough that we should see?
That's a good question. Foiling's challenging. The challenges you usually face you often face with these foiling classes are, how do you have equipment that can handle the full wind range?
Yeah.
How can you cover everything? You see it in the America's Cup, where they sort of struggled in the bit of the lighter wind. You see it in the Moth, where you have many people have different size sails. I know that, I've just actually started sailing a Moth, and I'll have two sail sizes. I have a larger sail and then the smaller sail. For me, I use a smaller sail and 11 knots, 12 knots or more.
Yeah.
But that's just to cover the wind range. But with the A class, for example, we only have one sail and one set of foils and one of everything. And for me, the biggest challenge I think that we're going to see people overcoming in coming years with the foiling is just how to address the full wind range. Whether it's in classes where you have one set of equipment and you just need to be smart in how you do your setup and your sail design and your foil choice and how your technique, how you sail the boat. Or if it's these classes where you can really have multiple sets of equipment and really specialize everything. And is it worth, being so reliant on your equipment choice, or are you really going to, have something that's well-rounded?
We discussed that sort of thing many episodes ago. I don't know if you boys remember, but we have tapped on it, and I think we've solved it. It's morphing. It's morphing the size of blades.
Right, we did.
I think that's
Well, like a plane does. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think you're onto something there. I mean,
well, we know
that's a whole structures question, and maybe I can do some FA analysis on some parts for that. But
just call it the BK morph.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I wondered if automation might be the way. Some sort of element of automation. But what you've come up with sounds smarter, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, you see the new 40-foot America's Cup boat sailing around, and you wonder if it's just going to sail itself. I mean, I'm really interested to see what they do for the youth and the women's America's Cup. How automated are they going to have the boats? And is that
Twiddlers
good?
for the super rich?
Yeah,
they're all lined up on the beach.
Yeah.
Super rich twiddlers.
Go on, Bossy. I know you're waiting to say it.
Oh no, I'm at the risk of sounding like a complete dickhead with this real high level conversations going on. So I'll just sit back in the background.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows?
Well, yeah. No, Bicey's got this theory that we'll end up with Sail GP will be one person sailing the boat and everything else will be automated at some stage. And that, as you say, that AC...
And including that one person, and then Russell will be the twiddler with them all. He's got them all. He's got like
Blue
a
has
big
to win today.
It's kind of like Jordan's big console there that he's got to run the Bar Karate podcast, but Russell will have it. Who's in front? Who's back? Who's in front?
I mean, you've seen these esports.
Big coloured buttons.
Yeah, you've seen these esports competitions. I mean, eventually they'll just have this central place. We'll all just fly into London or something, and sit in a room and just all
go for a sail in Rio. Yeah,
exactly.
That's pretty much how that whole conversation started. So we're not the only one to think it, mate. I think we've sort of reached our time. We're very interested in where you're going to go, Ravi. That's the reason we sort of reached out to you, is that, you just keep getting stronger and stronger. And I just wonder, the catamaran world seems to have these people that dominate for a while. And perhaps it's the next one. I think the NACA 17, the Olympic class, is going to be, it's tough. It's a tough class. So we wish you well for that whole Olympic campaign, mate, and your future career. But you're more than welcome to stay in touch with us anytime, because we love to see where you end up.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. And, I really appreciate you. You're hyping me up and you're making me feel good about the stuff I've done this year. And now I just need to live up to it. So challenge accepted.
Good, man.
Good on you, mate. Yeah, and good luck for your future, and good luck for the Olympics in 2024.
Thank you.
Not too good of luck.
Cheers, Ravi.
Boys, I've been impressed with Ravi for a bit, and really happy to get him on the show.
Good get.
Yeah, good get.
He seems to. I reckon he could be something special. I guess I do want to say he was very humble the whole way through. If you're looking, I know the US has a really strange system, the way you put your athletes into the Olympics. But if you're looking to fund someone, you can just look him up online or contact US Sailing. He's,
he's got a donate button on his webpage.
Yeah. But it
we'll
seems like
do anything we can to help these guys and girls.
The other thing I was just going to say is, the other thing that comes across is, he'd be really good in any corporate events, because he talks really well. And he's got knowledge as a sailor.
Maturity for a 26-year-old.
Yeah. So we just give him that plug. So I just wanted to do that. Yeah. What were you saying, BP?
Well, just sort of saying what we were doing when we were 26, and probably not that. And then if you go back even further, what were we doing when we were 14? I mean, I guess the only one here is Bicey, the lasers, I suppose.
I'll stop you there. The Rainbow. I've never heard of it.
Rainbow, of course it was.
The Mighty Exorcist 5178.
I'm sorry to put that across that way.
Hashtag bring back the rainbow.
You
love it.
Yeah,
Well
I
done.
forgot to mention the rainbow with Ravi, actually.
I'm pretty sure.
I'll make sure.
I mean, he would have gone from the pram to the rainbow, right?
Pretty much. The same hole shape.
I apologise, listeners. I apologise. Nobody wants to hear about the rainbow. Or a big
I
head.
bet you're wrong.
Well, I beg to differ. There's quite a strong Facebook page out there.
Yeah. Oh, dear. No, I know.
There's quite a few strong pages.
All right. All right.
Yeah, go on.
Let's move it on. Other news, team. Club events. The Australian sports boats have got something going on. I feel like we need to let people know around Toronto in New South Wales, which is on Lake Macquarie.
Toronto. It's not Toronto. It's Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto.
Is this where you took the
K8?
The K8?
Yes.
The same regatta?
No, it was the Australian Sports Boat Championships.
Yeah, this is not the same regatta. Let me tell you what the regatta is, just before you get too excited. Mid-November, if you're around Toronto, don't do anything bad, all right? Because the New South Wales Police and Emergency Services Regatta is on there, and they're using with the Australian sports boats. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty good, because they've got a band lined up. They've got...
No. So go back. The New South Wales Police and Emergency Services are sailing the boats?
Yeah, that's what I understand it, yeah.
Well, they should be in the area, because it'll be flooded. Won't it?
The courses
They'll have some pretty good support boats, support cars, all sorts going on.
Support horses and cows.
Like the rest of Australia, be bloody flooded.
The odd fridge.
You idiot. That's a good one. Dear. Anyway, the sports votes get plenty of coverage on here because they're cool and they send us lots of updates. So, that's if you want us to publicise your event, just let us know. More than a week in advance, please. Cool. What else? Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. Do you guys have any nominations?
We had a few come through over the desk this week via the 28 different streams. Kind of a bit of some good stuff, some really bad stuff. Yep. And he won't win it this week, but I just want to apologise to our friend, former Listener of the Week, Mr. John Schaefer, for missing every one of his phone calls during the Annapolis boat show.
Oh, did he ring it? Was he ringing you?
He was giving a bucket of rum away.
Basically, and he was flying the bar karate flag high, and I believe there was like a roll call at a certain time at McGarvey's, following in the footsteps of the great Harkin roll call I think it's at 9:30 or 10 p.m. So apologies to John for not taking a phone call at 6 a.m. just to listen to a couple of drunk blokes
answer on about rubbish for half an hour,
talking about the cocktail hour.
Yeah.
But one of those drunk blokes one night, whether he was or not, I don't think this guy ever gets drunk, is one Peter Harkin. So
yes.
Who was there flying the flag?
Yeah, no, he had Peter Harkin. Yeah, but little does John know, we talk to Pete on a weekly basis, so we're good. So any other nominations for Listener of the Week, for Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week? Because I've got a good one.
Okay, why don't we do yours?
Okay. Mine's a little bit controversial. I want to give it to the Australian sailing team.
Wow.
I know. They've got a little note and they've publicised it, and I do want to publicise it. They've got the She Sails project. So as part of their high-performance pathways and support for female sailors, there's an opportunity for listeners for a PhD scholarship, okay?
Nice.
So I just wanted to get that out there. So what they're looking for is you put your hand up for this scholarship. So just go to the Australian Sailing Team website and you'll find it. It's what you're trying to do is work out solutions to helping female athletes win more medals. So it will, any sort of female-specific opportunity in athlete development, retention, and performance optimization. So I can address, I think I can get a PhD here because I've got an idea on the retention piece. Range of topics including...
Go on.
I'll get there. But basically, if you've got a sports science background or a performance analysis or psychology, coaching, physiotherapy...
Well, that's you. 100%.
No, that's me. PhD candidate will be embedded as part of Australian Science. It's a great opportunity. You need to get your submissions in by 30th of October. I think there's a link, but basically you want to jump on that. So there will be some people out there they'll be very excited by that news, and I just thought we should publicise that and get it out there. Great opportunity. I'm
guessing we've got the controversial bit coming up.
Oh,
Jordan's
the solution for participation.
Well, is this the controversial bit?
Yeah, this is I could get a PhD here. Don't let them near blokes while they're in their late teen years. Just keep them away. Boys are a distraction.
Mate, you got to move with the times, my friend. Things are changing. Like, these women are much more, well, there's a lot of professionalism going around, specifically in this sport.
I love it.
So,
I reckon. I think it's fantastic. I think I just love more women in our sport. I think it's fantastic, and I love watching our society improve, and change, and see, there's so much more women's sport we're seeing now, and I think it's awesome.
Excelente. So, Australian Sailing Team. The other one was Emirates Team New Zealand, because we've clearly subscribed to every one of their bloody newsletters. Have been filling up at cheers@barkarate.com.
Thanks.
But we'll be talking about that a bit later. Okay. So, Australian Sailing Team,
may or may not be getting...
May not.
I'm not sure of their exact address, but...
There's quite a few people in Australian sailing too, so it'd be a big package.
We'll get.
We don't know the sizes either, so I don't think they're going to get it.
Yeah. Well, they'll be putting out a press release this week. Australian Sailing Team wins Bar Karate Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week.
We should add that to the retention program. Everyone must
I
listen.
think it'll be front page on the news, on the sailing news.
PhD for Bicey. That was a brilliant idea, Bicey. Oh, dear.
It's hot time with Bice.
Oh,
I'm going to go and buy a set of
I
maracas.
can't wait till we do this live. Do a live show somewhere.
You are going to take the tracksuits, aren't
I'll
you?
be strutting around in my snap side tracksuit pants, just ready to whip them off.
Hey,
we should get
Australian
like, if we go
silky budgie
live.
smugglers.
If we do go live, we can go full Hamish and Andy style and have team tracksuits.
Team tracksuits,
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think
I'm
we need
loving it.
We need, if we do that, though, that entry, we're going to have a set of maracas. I've got a cowbell. We could add to that, you know.
Yep.
BP, you can just strum your guitar there,
I'll just
slide
pick the
away.
guitar up.
Yeah, pick the guitar up.
Yeah,
I like it. And we could get Harry to walk out and hot time with Bites.
yeah.
That's
Actually,
all,
I think
all
we've
he
just
does
worked
every
out
week.
our band. So,
That's
BP, you're on guitar and sing.
Yeah.
The J-Dog here is on the cowbell, lead
cowbell.
cowbell.
Lead cowbell.
Lead cowbell.
Yeah, and then
And I'm on
maracas.
front of stage entertainment.
And
Whipping
maracas,
the
mate.
trackies off.
Chief Tracky Duck Terror Offerer.
I love it with a rainbow.
Rightio. So, boys, listen up.
Right,
Plenty going. Given you get a week off, there's plenty going on.
So much. Yeah, good week.
So there's lots of stuff in my inbox coming across the desk and a lot of little topics to talk about. We won't get boiled down right into it all, but middle sea race about to kick off, boys. 120 boats.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Can't wait.
25. The impressive thing, 25 nations.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a
Cool.
great race too.
It's a multicultural feeling. I like it. That's what we're all about. So we'll be keeping a pretty close eye on that. The weather looks pretty light, so no records will be broken this year. Who knows what's going to happen at the end, whether the finish lines will be moved or anything, whether any controversy will get a couple of people on the show or not. We do love a bit of controversy.
Yeah,
so
do it.
if you to the organisers, feel free to chuck something in here and there,
Well,
just so we can
actually know
get the
race
listener
management.
base up.
We'll get on the phone to Chris Stone and we'll say, listen, mate, can you do something at the end just to make it a bit flavoursome?
Yeah. And to the organisers, Bicey hit on something there. The listeners love the controversy, so let's be controversial. Like maybe let first come through and then just keep moving the line till you get second or third changes. Like keep moving it around. Something, just have a bit of fun with it because the listeners love it. Sorry.
Absolutely. Now, next they call it the Great Race.
No, can't be. Can't be.
They call it the Great Race.
They just steal everything.
There's
don't
many a great race. We've just had a great race in Australia, being given the Bathurst 1000.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the Sydney to Hobart. We've got the Teakle Classic. We've got them all right. But what's New Zealand have?
The Coastal Classic.
The Coastal
The
Classic.
Coastal Classic. Exactly.
Mm.
So that's literally, and we're recording on a Saturday morning, which the Coastal Classic kicked off yesterday. So we don't actually have the winners as yet.
No.
So
boats are sailing.
Sorry.
Boats
I
are sailing.
stand corrected.
Oh, yeah.
I
Hang
stand
on,
corrected.
we've
The
got a
boats
result.
have started, and it is my the V5 and Alan Andrews TP52 by Brian Peterson has crossed the line first with 23 hours 46
for 170 miles.
for only the second time since 09 a monohull keelboat has won the Coastal Classic over the Maltese.
Sticky.
What a fantastic fact.
Yeah, there's some good footage come out of this race in the last few years. Like, I think I've watched a bit. There was a Rapido 60, some good footage of this whole thing. But it's a pretty popular. I think it's about 170 boats, so it's pretty popular.
So
It is.
yeah, and another interesting fact: the keelboats took the top 6 places,
Wow.
with a Melges 40 being as part of those as well.
Wow. Oh well, yeah.
Imagine going offshore in a Mildred's 40.
Yeah, that'd be right. Rightio.
Moving on.
Oh, we've had a retirement this week, boys.
What's that?
One of the best retired from Olympic sailing.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Matty Belcher
Yeah.
has hung up his
Boxing gloves.
what would you say about helmsman of
No,
it? Well, he's probably allowed to eat a lot more than just a banana now. So, but he's stepping down from Olympic sailing.
But he still has Victor following
class.
him around. He still has Victor following him and make sure he's doing the right thing.
No, that's a big one.
No, it is.
It's not a blow. It's just a change of the guard, so to speak.
But what a career.
Yeah.
Absolute blindingly good career.
For those, we spoke to Matty. It was our 1 year super special, episode 56 from memory.
Mm-hmm. From memory.
Don't remember it.
I could see you typing it.
So yeah, that was a good conversation. He's a fantastic bloke, and
yes, he is.
He lives on the Gold Coast. He's got a lot of young kids running around his ankles now. So I think it'll be a good chance for him. You know, they've got a family business which is quite significant. I think these days is getting quite big, the kids. So it'll be a great opportunity for him. But the bad thing for sailors is you're not safe now, because at least you knew he was isolated in the 470 class.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't sailing him, you didn't have to worry. Now, whatever you're sailing, you're at risk. You can.
Well, he's dabbing his toes in the etuals, I can tell you that much.
Yes, for free too. He's doing all that for free.
Hope he doesn't get them caught in that little slot that they've got to cut in them.
Yeah, I've got to go and see that this week, actually. I'm going to pick it up. We've had our slot cut.
Yeah, no, here's several have got the slot cut. So bravo. Looking forward to seeing them here in Adelaide.
BP's back on Barkarati, so the etuals come up in conversation, of course.
No, never left. Never left.
Beautiful.
Anyway,
the
Matt,
accordion. The accordion.
So old mate Matt Belcher, mate, thanks. 2 gold, 1 silver, and 8 world champs, something like that, in that 470,
Just
plus all the other world champs he's got.
Oh, just got a text from him. You're welcome. Right, boys. Next, moving on. 52 Super Series, last regatta of the season coming up in Barcelona. So that will be kicking off shortly. Be interesting to keep an eye on everything that's going on there. But they just keep going and going. And you look at the crew list, and again, they're just pretty phenomenal teams.
Yeah.
Still at the top of the game, the 52. So
I love the footage that comes out. They are beautiful boats.
Yeah, beautiful boats. Basically, little AC campaigns. I'm not sure what a campaign would cost these days, but I'm guessing she ain't cheap.
No.
It'd be great to be 30 years younger and be able to sail all these boats, you know, like be going for it. You know, some of our listeners have got that chance, you know, it'd be wonderful. Some of the boats that we see these days are just unreal. Like, we're living at a great time of sailing, you know.
Oh, there's no question.
Well, I'm just stepping back 30 years, 14. Oh, Rainbow.
Yeah.
I was quite happy.
The technology was just blooming.
Yeah. All right.
You don't hear me crapping on about a class of boat over and over and over again like you two blokes do.
No, at least not at all.
I didn't even know you sailed, Jordan. I didn't even know you sailed. I wonder why you were hosting
second best off the beach class. Now, I was going to talk about this one, just moving from the water to the land, but that's not the case. It's moving from the water to the water. Project Land Speed for Emirates Team New Zealand.
Yes.
So, as like every other part of Australia, unfortunately, Lake Gardner's underwater at the minute, of which is the location of Emirates Project Land Speed, Team New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. So they've had to pull the pin for a little bit. So they're in hiatus. The boys flew through Adelaide only a couple of days ago. I'm sure they'll be back. But some pretty awesome stuff they were doing out there.
Yeah.
What was it, 156 k's an hour or something?
Amazing. For those who don't know, the area is a salt lake area that dries up and in flood times obviously fills up, but it creates a pretty full-on platform for them to do it on, doesn't it?
I still stand by my argument they should have just done it on the Hay Plain. You know, just
from Hay to Adelaide.
That road between Hay and Balranald.
Yeah, but you know, they've got that big arch you've got to go through with your cameras to clip you through.
Oh.
They'll take it out.
Yeah. No, they can stop before that. They got 120 k's of open road with no trees and nothing.
Yeah, but what about a kangaroo? What if they hit a kangaroo?
Same risk on the lake, isn't it?
I doubt it. I doubt there's kangaroos. They'd have to have a bull bar on the front.
You put 'em- no, they haven't. They've got those little roo whistles.
How would they make an aerodynamic bull bar?
Mate, the roo whistles are just screaming. There's no kangaroos left in South Australia. They were going so fast.
They've
Love
all
it.
escaped.
I love it. That's awesome.
Sorry for the non-Australian listeners on that one.
Yeah, we should send some over to the Kiwi team.
Oh,
we'll get a few.
amazing.
And send a few.
All right,
whistles.
moving from the salt, which is underwater, to the road.
Right.
The Americans, I think they're a bit mixed up. They've just put their bikes onto the America's Cup boat.
I think
Back on. They're back on.
Cyclaws.
Well,
Cyclaws.
well, I'm gonna say Tyson kind of alluded to it the other week when we had him
I'm
on
reading
the show.
some. Well, yeah. Here.
We talked about Bicey should be in the team. Powered away.
Just makes as stupid as it looks. Makes a lot of sense, right? A lot more strength coming from your legs, leaves your hands open to do other stuff. I mean, it wasn't done for no reason to start with.
No.
I'm sure
What's
it's not.
What's
gonna be
that
done.
program you do, Bicey, where you sit in your garage and you pretend you're in
Swift.
certain races? Swift.
Yeah,
You reckon they
yeah.
do Swift or not?
I
So
thought that
instead
was
of
Actually,
racing,
they can be competing on Zwift during it.
Yeah.
So you've just gone, you've just ridden the Garden Loop in London, as well as pumped
America's-
5,000 litres of hydraulic oil.
I reckon that should be
It's like
absolute-
patting your tummy, rubbing your head, doing two things at once.
do an America's Cup event while doing a stage of the French Tour de France.
I love it. Anyway, it's good to
right.
see that development going on. There's a lot happening in the Cup. It's just fantastic. We've got so much to talk about, so it's good to
Have you
watch.
been I mean, this is a complete. We need to designate an episode purely to this. Jesus, what do they call it? The spying game in the Cup, the reconnaissance team.
Yes. Yeah.
We should get one of those because there's some phenomenal stuff coming out about everything that's going on, and it gets sent out to all the teams.
Yeah.
It's don't know whether it's genius or stupid the way it's done, but it's probably saving a shitload of money.
Talk
for the
about
teams.
reconnaissance. Did anyone see the photo of a Lingy's jib?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
The best comment, I think Jody Shields' comment was it. I think it was. Might have been.
Well,
It
he
was-
made a couple of comments, yeah.
yeah. I don't have a clue what happened.
Beauty.
Yeah, I think that's the theme. Clueless, yeah.
yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on. Oh, the last one I've got is our friends from World Sailing. We've got the Sustainability Awards
Yep.
coming up, which of course we spoke about on from memory. What episode was that, Jordan?
When I was in Ireland, mate, that was our worst ever performance as a recording. That was it didn't come across.
Oh,
on
the
the
episode
record.
episode 174
Was
from
it?
memory.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Just made that up.
It's a great episode, but just made some technical
So,
errors for the first
For
time.
those that had nominated for the 11th Hour Racing Sustainability Award, team will be revealed at the award ceremony on the 25th of October. So as you're basically listening to this, listeners, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
We'll be keeping an eye on not only the Sustainability Award, but also Team of the Year, Boat of the Year, Rolex Sailors of the Year, all those sorts of things. So bravo.
Bloody
Bravo.
awesome.
Bravo.
Okay, good. Well, hey, listen.
Well, yeah, no, I'm done.
I've got one.
And a great
Hot
session.
time.
And a great session
Hot
of Hot Time.
I've got one.
J70 Worlds, I found the results.
Oh, BP, you legend. What have you found?
No records has taken it out convincingly.
I
Just
thought
no
you were
records.
saying there are no records. Maybe that's what
No
confused
records.
me. I was going, I can't find the results. There's no records.
No records, has just won every race.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's on that boat? You got any details?
No, just says no records.
Oh. You wanker.
Mate, you're on fire.
You wanker. Yes. Okay. Yeah, copy.
Yeah.
So you played.
It's
me.
a strange one.
Well
isn't
done. You got me a beauty there. No records. So we can't find any results. I just wanted to. The last thing I wanted to bring up was around the whole quick release trapeze harness thing.
Oh, yep.
Yes.
Yeah, very technical topic for this time of day.
Yeah. So basically, at World Sailing's latest meeting, they pushed back the requirement to comply with the international standard. The international standard, hey?
World Sailing pushback.
Yeah, so
don't they write the standard?
No.
Themselves. This is not good enough.
So there's a standard. I think it was released 2009 about how quick release harnesses, what they need to have and meet that standard, and it keeps getting pushed back. I think the requirement is back to 2025 because no one's developed a solution. And I've got to be honest, I have to look back through my notes, but I think it might have been Australian Sailing. Somebody approached me and asked me to analyse the standard and talk about what the weakness of the standard is back, 12, 13, 14 years ago, probably before the standard was actually made official. So it was a while ago. And to get the standard now, you have to pay for it. So I've got no idea what the standard looks like now, but there was a lot of weaknesses in what the standard said it needed to be. It didn't allow for a lot of imagination. That's my memory back then. I could be completely wrong, but the whole concept of a quick release harness, like what is a quick release harness? Is it firing the hook? Is it
explodable pin?
Explodable pin. Is it no hook at all? So like the ball and the little tab and plate solution that Bethwaite came up with, or is it just take the harness off, like just Velcro the harness off? I think Zyke have a harness like that, So, but basically, it sounds like they're going to try and put this quick release element in. No criticism at all, because people have been trapped and caught and died. And the only thing I want to say, and I've said it before many times, it's a safety thing. If you're going sailing with someone and they're wearing a trapeze harness, find out the best way to get them out of that trapeze harness before you go sailing with them. It's a conversation every sailor should have, because if they are trapped and you've got to get down there and they're unconscious, you have to get them out somehow, right? So if they're trapped, what is the solution? How do you get it out? It's a conversation every sailing team should have. Simple.
Yeah. I apologise because we have spoken about this, and I can't remember who it was. Was it with AIDS, maybe? Adrian Finglas? Was it based around having knives available and a few different things? But I can't remember exactly. But so I apologise, but it's a very well brought up point in the sense from a safety point of view. So
the standard is ISO 10862. It was supposed to take effect January 1, 2023. So World Sailing have changed that to now January 1, 2025. That's their current position, because there is no quick release harness available on the market that complies with the standard. So I can't tell you exactly what the standard says.
You know what?
What? Barcarati?
You know what would definitely get quick release harnesses on the market?
What?
The sooner the standard's in.
Well, the standard's there.
But everyone needs to then have the solution, right?
Well, as I said,
I mean, there's a grace period. But
I think the standard's weak. Is my memory of
copy.
it. Like it didn't. I actually thought the standard needed to be modified. That's my memory of the whole thing. And so I just say that it could be all completely different. I haven't read the standard since I did that thing about 12 or 15 years ago. So, but yeah, just the safety discussion. That's it. So.
Now, it'll be a miss of me, gentlemen.
Yes.
And I know I wasn't here last week with Gray, but are we clutching at straws? But can we say he has received the Barcarati curse
with the race win?
With a race win at the IQs?
Well, no, I just think that they don't understand their own results board. I'm just looking at it now and I can't work it out.
What's the IQ? Yeah, I must admit I read through it. what's the IQ required to define the IQ results?
It's full on.
Anyway,
Well, you've got blue dots, and you've got gold dots, and then yellow dots, and red dots, silver dots, and bronze dots.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's
and
a bit. What?
You melt all those dots together.
You get a brown dot.
That's what happens when you mix a bunch of dots together.
That's right.
And then you get someone who is in an open cat class. Sebastian Cordell seems to have mixed all his dots together well, has a net points of 16 and total points of 84, and is currently leading with four blue dots and a bunch of yellow dots, all gold dots.
Looks like we'll have to have a designated episode on that as well to explain the. That'll be riveting listening.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'll pass.
But hey, let's just quickly touch on it. I mean, you've got to be proud of young Gray. Gets out there and wins one gold dot.
Gets a gold dot.
Yep.
Bravo.
Now he's got a bunch of silver dots.
Oh.
Yeah, that's because he's in the silver fleet now. He didn't make the gold fleet.
I think what it is, it's once you get to a certain amount of points, you end up in a different fleet, right?
So day one, they missed day one, and then day two, they ended up having the qualification for the fleets was all down to like a couple of races. So they split everyone into gold and silver fleets after just one day of sailing. And so consequence. I think Gray. Gray had a heat win, so congratulations, young fella, up and coming with a shocking mullet. All good.
Very good.
Nice, boys.
Yep, like it. What else?
I think that's it.
Route to Rum.
Oh, yeah, it's just on the notes, so I don't forget it, that one. Actually, it starts 25th. Actually, yeah, this week.
That's this Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's been there for 2 years, that note. So
we keep talking about it every week.
So, yeah, Route to Rum, Destination Guadeloupe. Starts
and you
25th
wonder why
October.
I don't look at the run sheet.
there'll be quite a bit of discussion on that once we see them bounce out of the blocks on the 25th.
Very cool. All right. Best of luck to everyone. It'll be great watching. Great. Fired up. Can't wait.
Finally, after all this time.
Beauty.
Rock and roll.
Farewell, listeners.
Grab your
Checks
guitar,
out.
BP.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'll go and get it. Hang on.
Yeah.
Give us some ratings, by the way, listeners, if you don't mind, going to the your favourite podcast provider.
I thought you were going to say, can you give us some ratings of the song?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I think you can get it on SoundCloud. If you go to SoundCloud and look up
SoundCloud.
I did
Perry,
actually try and put it on Spotify.
Cool.
I tried to work out, but they wouldn't let me, so I haven't worked out how to do it. I did try and do that for you, BP, but
if I could sell the actual song for $1 every download, we'd be going okay.
We have at least $6.
Well, we've only downloaded it
We'd
once.
have $7
because we play it on.
Good on us. Good on us. Pat's on our back.
All right. So, listeners, thanks so much for listening. We love your work.
Yep. Cheers.
See you next week. Boys. Interesting how you always come in at different parts of the song, Peter.
The railroad track part.
So versatile.
It's like a train running on a track.
That's the best way.
That's the Bell Spin track.
Oh, yeah, trashy.
Yeah.